right, are we ready to go?
Yep.
All right, Russ, you call the meeting to order?
Joe Becker. Here. Kelsey Waits.
Here.
Dave Pimble.
Here.
Scott Gergen.
Here.
Peter Blissenbach.
Here.
Russ Roloff here. And Tim Collins.
Here.
I'm also here.
Yeah.
Lisa Indeed.
This is like a quiz.
I don't know why I got skipped on the first go.
6 out of 7, that's not bad.
No, I know, that was really quite good. That was really quite good. All right, focus. Focus, people. Could I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, could I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2018 regular board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, could I get a motion and a second to approve the bills payable?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, could I get a motion and a second to approve charitable contributions for the first quarter?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion?
This is for the
Thank
first
you.
quarter? Should be second, right?
I was doing this kind of late at night.
No, I understand. For the
So it'll be
previous
for the-
quarter, we got it.
Oh, yeah.
Strike that.
Okay. I'll take the motion in a second with that amendment to the motion.
So moved.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then last, for the moment, could I get a motion and a second to accept the quarterly review of student activities?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. With that, we're ready to move into our good news items.
Yeah, and good news that both Jen and Fonda could be here tonight. I didn't know for
Thank you.
sure when we put the agenda together, and I told Jen and Fonda just brief presentation. Very new program to us for about a year and a half now. So with that, Jen and Fonda.
So I have for you our current plan, so go ahead and take one, and I'm going to keep one, just so I
Okay.
have access to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Of course. Thank you.
Hi, team. How are you tonight?
Hi,
Tim
Jen.
said no slideshow, and it's freaking me out a little bit.
Because then you like to stand behind the podium and have a slide.
I said, don't feel like you have to do a slide, so.
You said no slides. So what you have in front of you is this year's Indian Education Program Plan. And each year, any district that has 10 or more Native American students in the district needs to bring together a parent group and create a plan. And the plan is supposed to be based on our district's World's Best Workforce goals that you've heard about before and you'll hear about again. And we have to make those specific to our Native American students. So you'll see on here some goals with some specificity that the state wouldn't have because we have in some populations that fewer than 10 threshold. And so in here you have some data that could identify kiddos. So when we share this with the public, and we'll put most of this on the website, will be a little bit more vague with percentages, but the state wants the real numbers. So you have what we have in front of us that goes to the state. And so one of the goals that we have as the district is to help kiddos be ready for kindergarten. And so we have allocated some funding for literacy materials. Last year, we did a whole lot of purchasing of books, and those were delivered early this year. So we had some that were delivered to Tilden, and then some delivered to K1, 2, 3, 4 classrooms. We have some for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th social studies, and a couple books went to the high school. So we really looked at what are authentic Native literature, and Fonda did an awesome job of reaching out to some book publishers that really deal in authentic text so that we weren't feeding into some stereotypes, but having really great books in the hands of kids. And the other thing that we allocated in our pre-K readiness was scholarships for Native students to attend Tilden Preschool. And the challenge there is to try and figure out who are our kiddos who are Native that are pre-K that might want to go. And so we're really using our parent network to try and do some of that. The second goal is all students being ready for reading. And so we've looked at, again, doing some work with literacy materials. And then in a bit, when I turn this over to Fonda, she can talk about what it means by trunk artifacts. So I'm not gonna go into that, she can talk about that. And then this year, I allocated some funding, or asked the parents, because it's really them who has to say yes or no for the plan, to allocate some funding for teachers to come together to create some lesson plans around some of the artifacts that we've purchased, so that our teachers know how to use it and how to share those materials with kiddos. The third goal is closing the achievement gap, and so we're looking at the growth on MCA and in MAP, and there our parents wanted less academics, and they really wanted to share some culture with the community. And so they want to bring in some guest speakers, whether they do some storytelling or do some traditional cooking or drum events that aren't specific to our Native families, but really open that up to the Hastings community to participate in some cultural events. And so those are on the horizon in the future. The next one is college and career readiness, and that's where we are allocating funding to have Fonda in our district, and I'm going to have her talk about some of the things that she's doing with students this year. And then the fifth goal is about graduating from high school, and you'll see in here that our data is our Native American kiddos are graduating. So we don't have any improvement to make, but we have some sustaining to do there. And so we didn't allocate additional funding there because that was kind of swooped in those other goal areas. Do you have questions for me about the program plan in particular?
No?
No, but can I just say, I love the idea of sharing the culture with our community. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, our parents were really, both last year's group and this year's group, and it's I like to call them a small but mighty group. Last year we had 3 parents show up pretty consistently, and this year we've grown to 5 or 6 parents who are showing up. And we're excited about that, and they're looking to recruit people that they know to join us.
Oh, terrific.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Fonda. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing with kids?
So since I started, I've been working mostly with middle school and high school students, and I've just been trying to build connections and relationships with them so I can help them succeed in their academics. One of the important things that we're working on is attendance issues, so I'm trying to make connections with the kids, their parents, and trying to see what we can do to help encourage them get to school. If there's any problems or situations that they might be having, I'm here to let them know that I'm here as an extra person to be supportive to them, their families, and to faculty. So if anybody has any questions or anything, I'm always there to help come and make that connection so we can get these kids successful in their academics. Some of the other things that I'm working on is doing once a month group meetings in the middle schools and the high schools to just get the kids together so they can see what other kids are in the school systems, because they're all not aware of each other as far as being other natives within the community. So it's important for them to see that there's other kids that may be in the same situation as they are and feel kind of more connected and trying to create friendships and relationships that way. For culture activities at night, we try to do them at least once a month, but
Maybe once every other month. Mm-hmm.
So, and during that time, we meet with the families, the kids, and we do some type of, the first meeting we had, we did medicine bags, so we, got to teach the kids what a medicine bag was, what it stood for, and that was good. There was a couple kids, and then the next event, more people showed up, which was really good, so people are making an effort to come and join in on some of these opportunities that we're doing. That event, we did keychains and like necklaces. And then just this past Monday, we did another cultural activity night for kids and their families, and about 17 people came, so it was a dramatic jump in attendance.
Nice.
And we made traditional corn husk dolls. So it's really nice to see that parents and kids are starting to want to get involved in this program, and it's something new and it's exciting.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the trunks, the artifacts?
Yeah.
So the trunks are artifacts that are traditional to Native peoples. It's not just in one tribe, but right now we're working on like Ojibwe artifacts and then Lakota artifacts. Some of the trunks have like traditional moccasins, like bags, traditional outfits that they might dance at powwows. There are different wild rice, just different artifacts that talk about things that are local to Minnesota and like the tribes that are surrounding. So it's different hides and stuff, and we're just gonna use those artifacts to talk about like what they were used for. So like if you went deer hunting, you would use like all of it. You wouldn't just use the meat to eat. You'd use the hides for moccasins, the hides for like blankets or rugs. So it's just talking about a lot of things that we as a people would utilize as a whole, not just disregard and take different parts out. So it's a lot of stuff that we're still working on and we're adding, and we're gonna be building the curriculum with the teachers, so that's something that, we're in the process of doing.
Is there a particular grade level that the trunk artifacts are being used by or anticipate to be
I
used
think
by?
mostly with the elementary, kind of like
Okay.
elementary and the middle school
Okay.
right now.
So when I reached out to teachers, I invited anybody K to 12 to participate, because I think any one artifact can be used in multiple grade levels, and we can increase the sophistication of what we want to help kids understand. One of the really cool things that we have is a couple of buffalo bladders, and just having the experience with an elementary kiddo with what the heck is this, up to what is symbolic about that as we move into middle school, and getting those teachers on board to have some conversations with Fonda, build those lesson plans, so even if they aren't developing the lessons, they're gonna be handed, here's what you can do with these artifacts with your kids. And they're really excited. The regalia that we were able to, it was custom made, and it's just really cool, the jingle dress for the kiddo, for the little girl and boy, and moccasins are beautiful. And we have a number of toys and games that are traditional toys and games, so kids are gonna be able to put their hands on like real life stuff and have some pretty cool experiences.
The cultural experiences like the medicine bag activity, when you did you said the 1-8-17 people came. Were those, like what age level were those geared at?
When we have these cultural activities, they're geared for like everybody. So from like kindergarten, like even like preschoolers, all the way up to, the 12th grade. It's just something, these activities we do, it's like for everybody. It's not just like for one age group. It's.
And the reason I was asking that, I don't want to speak on behalf of Mike Johnson, the high school or the middle school. It'd be interesting that if at our high school site throughout the day we have 80 kids in a study hall, maybe over these, if I was in a study hall and I had the opportunity to go find out about these medicine bags during my study hall, we might be able to give more. We have a captured audience.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And I would probably, maybe I don't use the study hall like I should have back in the day, but I would maybe walk down and say, oh, medicine bags over the next 2 days, I'd like to learn more about that. So that's just something to think about.
Great idea. What other questions or comments or ideas do you have to share with us?
I just want to comment that, with the money that we receive from this, it's not a lot. You're not full-time. I really appreciate the effort that both of you have put in, the evening meetings, those experiences. So thank you to both of you, the parent committee. So I do really appreciate the efforts that you've put in with the limited amount of resources that we do have.
Perfect.
And thank you.
Yeah, thanks, team.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next we'll move into the superintendent's report. The first item is security camera upgrades.
Yeah, this is part of the bond. And so I thought that for you as board members, just to see that this is one of the projects that's now been completed, and for the community to see, we said that security was one area that we wanted to focus in on the bond. And Deanna definitely is the person who's been putting in the legwork. She was in with the bid process. She's been in with the installation. She's been in with the training for our administrators. So I thought just for you to get a feel for what the security camera project is done and for the community who's watching as well. So with that, Deanna.
I'll be brief. We put in cameras all new cameras at the high school. We put in some new cameras at all of our sites. One of the big improvements, besides the great pictures that I'll show you in a minute of the cameras at the high school, is this ability now to have live maps. We didn't have this in the past. The elementaries had maps that had their perimeter security. They had some of their cameras on there, but it wasn't like this where I can actually follow someone. So if you think about this from a security standpoint, now if there's some kind of an event going on, we can actually go in a little more real time. I can follow a person knowing that, okay, that's the next camera I need to go to, walking right down a hallway, getting different views. The nice thing about that is in the past, a principal just had this tree to look at. So you kind of just had to know which camera you needed to go to next. So the maps are a really huge plus, especially when you have as many cameras as we have, because we do have quite a few security cameras. We added some at Mccullough. The nice thing about the maps also is that it shows what the view is. So these exterior cameras here at Mccullough, it shows you what direction it's pointing at. So that's a pretty good picture. The other thing is that's a new camera. You can see how clear that is. Just in the, I think it's been 7 years since we did the first camera project. You can see the difference in the quality. That's an old camera. These playground cameras are new and they're quite a bit crisper. You might not be able to see it quite as much of a difference on this screen because that projector doesn't have great resolution. But if you're looking at this on a computer screen, it's really crystal clear. One of the really cool things is at the high school. So the high school was never on this system. The system now is all contained in Exact Vision. So if there was an event anywhere, the district office could see what was going on. So we see all the cameras here. Sites see only their cameras. But the really nice thing is that the high school's now on this system. Before they were on a completely different system, and it was not great. I mean, it was great when they built the high school, but it had really wasn't great anymore. So now at the high school, we have all new cameras, all tied into this. And one of the things that we really like at the high school is we have a lot of 360 cameras. So I gotta get to my correct map here. So our high school, this is the main level of the high school. We have a lot of what we call 360 cameras, and I'll show you what they look like. They start out, and the one problem we're going to have with this computer is it doesn't have a video card, so it doesn't always respond really well. But what this camera is doing, and it looks kind of funky right now, but I can change it, is it's taking a 360 view. So you see you're in the gymnasium right now. You're looking overhead at a 360 view. And then what we can do, and if I set this up so I could get to a camera that wouldn't lock up on me. But what we can do, and when we're at I don't know if this is going to like this very much because this camera is, okay, it popped up pretty good, but it's going to be a little hard for you to see because, again, the resolution here is not great. But it then pops out of what is called fisheye, that overhead view, and it allows you to look around the gym. Like I said, this computer isn't really set up to do this, so it's a little slow, but it would let you, if we were on one of the computers at the high school, basically turn this around. Like I said, it's really slow in here right now. But you kind of get the idea.
Yeah,
It'll allow
definitely.
you to go all the way around. The other thing is when we go to the elementary buildings, they have that same ability. So the camera, it has some zoom quality, like you can zoom in, you can zoom out. It doesn't actually change the view of the picture. So the camera is stationary, it stays in one place. But it will allow you to zoom in on something. So for instance, at Mccullough, if we go to the Mccullough, I'm really not having great luck with this computer. If we went to Mccullough and we went out on one of their playground cameras, it will really let me zoom in quite a bit. So say something's happening and you really need to get a good look at it, and again, you don't get the best picture on this big screen, but I can really zoom in. So if I need to look at a face or I need to really figure out what happened, they have quite a bit of flexibility. So that's kind of the long and the short of your new camera system.
Does it have an iris shutdown so that as the sun would hit the camera, you can adjust so you get a better picture?
It automatically does that.
Okay.
I mean, you're gonna get sometimes when there's gonna be a glare. The cameras all have low light ability, so like if it gets really dark, most of our buildings are motion, like the lights go on if someone's walking, so it's not really a big deal. But for instance, our loading dock has a camera. When it gets dark in there, it turns black and white. So on the video feed, it'll look black and white because black and white, well, the resolution is better than color. So they can see well in the dark. They record on motion every 3 seconds if there's no motion. Otherwise, they're recording continuously. So like during the day when the hallways are full, it's recording all the time. At night, when there's no one in the hallway, it's recording every 3 seconds. So it saves a little bit on the amount of space that we have. But we have really ample storage right now. We have over 30 days. So we have room to grow if we need to add cameras. Because what happens is you want to stay right around 30 days. So,
That's fantastic.
anything else?
Thank you.
That's really good. Looks good.
I know you've talked about the quality of those cameras the last few meetings, but
Like I said,
that's really amazing. Thanks for having
I
that
know
put up
that
there.
the outdoor cameras have improved so much, it is unbelievable. We might have a situation in our high school parking lot in the past, and all you'd see is kind of a blur. Not anymore. You can zoom in and say, yeah, that was your kid, Peter. So the technology has really improved, and you know, the security, we talked before, like at Mccullough Elementary, what you saw there, part of it was too, just sometimes a student leaving at the end of the day, a second grader or first grader, and mom telling us, it wasn't that somebody came to school and took the student, it was being able to tell mom or dad, yeah, the child left and they walked this way, or they walked this way, when they should have hopped on bus number 22 or whatever it might be. We didn't have that in the past, and we've had a few situations where there was just some miscommunication between mom and dad. Dad shows up 15 minutes late to pick up son isn't there, son said I'm gonna walk home, and we never could tell that they walked home or not for sure, and now we do have that ability, so. Money well spent, and we know that security cameras aren't gonna stop intruders from coming in, but it helps us pick up on a lot of things that are happening in our schools, so. I just wanted to share, so thank you, community, for passing the bond. All of our administrators are very excited about the improvement that it brings to our sites. The bond project update, I just wanted for the facility committee members to share a little bit about the bond project update. Unfortunately, in our meeting, we didn't get to too many of the projects other than Todd Field, so I'll just recap for you and for the community where we're at. Basically, the phase one, which is the high school roof, it's the high school track, parking lot at the high school, chiller at the high school, chiller at Pinecrest Elementary, Mccullough parking lot, Mccullough lights. They're about 95 to 97% done, and we're about 2.5 million under budget just on the construction part of it. There's some contingency there too. So we're extremely happy that we're under budget. And Scott shared with us that that's predicted, because when you're doing a 3-year bidding, you should be under in year one, because that should be your best guess scenario. It's when you get out into years 2 and 3 that it's tough to predict out. So we went into that, and so we were able to hear that on those projects. We weren't really able to get into much detail on them. So for example, as I walked out, I said to Kyle, you know, the Mccullough parking lot lights still aren't there. And we were told that they were gonna be in on October 13th, and even October 13th was late. Please, somebody send Matt Esterby an update on the Mccullough parking lot lighting. Other than that, most of the other projects are right on schedule and looking good. So now, we're starting to phase for what is the core, and that's the middle school project. They shared with us tonight that they are one of the few engineering firms that has a consulting firm that says if we were to go out to bid, tell us how you think this would come in now. So they contract with a consultant and they say, we got this middle school project coming up. We analyzed this project 3 years ago. If you were to bid this, how do you think it's gonna come out? And so they have some early estimates saying that if we go out for bid here in February and March, it's probably gonna come in on bid. So that's good news. And they said that they have all this historical data that they compare it back to, so they're saying that right now they're feeling pretty good about it, that that consultant over the years has been pretty accurate, and that the middle school project, which is the core of our project, will probably come in on bid. The timeline for that is to look to bid that in January or February. Todd Field is also the next big one, as far as, not big compared to the middle school, but one of the next big projects for next year. And they said that we can hold off on that till about February, right? February, March it's crazy to me that you can bid that in March and award the bid and start getting into it in April or May already, and that it will be done by August, but they're telling us, they originally had that scheduled to be bid 2 to 3 weeks before the middle school. But they said they can hold off on that if we're nervous at all, because we might add some things to Todd Field. So they said they could do middle school first, hold off and bid Todd Field. So we as a committee haven't had a chance to talk about that yet. Todd Field, the core of Todd Field is coming in right where that too is gonna come in right where we thought it would be bid. The Todd Field Committee, which is some coaches and community members, would like to come and present to you as a board about what they've looked at, some of the things that they would like to maybe have us consider as a board, as some are small additions and some are bigger additions. And I said that our committee hasn't had a chance to meet with the rest of our board members yet in a work session. So the tentative plan is, because all of our time was just spent really listening and asking a few questions back and forth, the tentative plan is for Peter, Joe, and Russ and I to get together next week sometime. We're gonna meet right after the board meeting and set that date. Then once we have our own thoughts of what we would like to share with you, probably at the November 7th work session, then we as a committee would share that with you. And then we would have the larger committee come in and do a presentation to us as a board. And then we're just hoping then in December that we give them some specifics to kind of work with to go out and bid Todd Field. And I think
Just to touch base then, likely at the November board meeting, there might be this community committee presentation?
Yep.
Okay, with some recommendation sometime from.
And the committee has been great. They understand that they're just a sounding board and they want to share their opinions. And they're not going to come here and say, as a board, no, we think that you should also do this and you should also do this. They're just saying that when we got together with coaches, these are some other things that we'd like you to consider that was never talked about during the bond process. I'll just give you a small one. So as they got together, off of 10th Street, which is the main high road that runs above the stadium, on the east end, there's a place where you can park and a handicapped person can get off and cross the sidewalk and enter the stadium from that top side. They would like the board to consider a spot also on the west end. That's about a $60,000 addition. So I'm not saying that's a small, in my viewpoint of whether or not that should be done, but on the whole scope of it for $60,000 to have 2 access points. And the reason they brought it up is that right now Todd Field's being used mainly for football, some for soccer, some for lacrosse, but the big event is, of course, the football evening. And on those evenings, we shut down 10th Street. And we have people there where we can say, oh, Dave, you need handicapped access, come on down here, drive down here, park, and we can get you there. But we have to think into the future of, there might be a 6th and 7th grade soccer game there in the summer. Well, there's gonna be nobody there that's gonna be, hey, come on down here. So we maybe wanna make those spots more visible. We wanna make some spots there. So those are some recommendations that they're bringing to us as a committee and a board. Just, I think I shared this maybe at our last work session. Do you wanna go with asphalt shingles that are a dead blue and don't stand out? Or do you wanna go with a steel roof blue that stands out from a aesthetic standpoint? So that's what their committee has come up. It hasn't changed the scope of what's being done at Todd Field. It's just some of the little things. And we haven't had a chance to talk about that. So our plan is, we're gonna meet as a group, and we'll come back to you at a work session and tell you where we think it's at. Anything else, board members, from our update with Wold that you can think of that stands out?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we're looking good from a financial perspective right now. I don't think we're over in any area,
No.
so, so far so good.
He also shared that there's some MnDOT lease agreements, because part of the parking's on MnDOT land, part of the field's on MnDOT land. Right now, we're in a 50-year lease. They said they've had a great working relationship with the individual from MnDOT, that she has gotten back to them. That's been some of the problems in the past. She understands the need. They want a lease too. They don't want to be dealing with this every 5 to 10 years. He shared with us as a board about the Vermillion watershed area. So now when all of a sudden you're going to be adding parking lot down there, where does that water go? Does the water have to be cleaned? Do they have to create a system to clean it because of the location? So those are some other things that he shared with us too, and we'll bring back that in more detail to you at our work session. So, any other questions on that? If not, I'll go to Avid update.
I don't have anything else on the bond.
Okay.
Good update.
Thank you.
So then, we had lunch with 9 students who are in the Avid program, and Kelsey was there, Dave was there, and Lisa was there, and it was really just a half-hour meeting and visiting, and just kind of asking and saying, what do you think so far? Why did you choose to go the Avid route? And just give us some feedback. And Kelsey, we haven't talked at all, but Kelsey, Dave, or Lisa, what would be some things that you'd share with the rest of the board members about what you heard at that very informal meeting? Anything that popped out in mind for you?
I think students were surprised at how much they actually ended up enjoying it, that maybe they were hesitant to sign up for it, and once they signed up for it, they really enjoyed it. There weren't any regrets in our meeting for signing up for it, and they felt like they've been learning. And I will say, I sat in on a class as well a couple weeks ago, and it was really great. They were doing team building exercises, tying string to a marker, and without touching the marker, you had to write the alphabet. So you had to figure out how as a team you would move the string and, get the marker and write the alphabet, and kind of thinking out of the box. And so those skills, and they had mentioned that at the lunch meeting as well, that you're kind of learning how to think outside of your comfort zone and come up with new ideas and new ways of engaging. And so it was really positive.
Other board members?
I would agree. I think that they all felt that they, was a positive move on their behalf, and, they felt very engaged in the program, and we're looking forward to, learning more.
Yeah, I think there was understandably some hesitation and just not knowing what the program was, and so they talked about either they themselves didn't know, like they had been approached by a teacher that, this might be a good fit for you, or when they brought it home to get a parent support. the parents thinking, really, is this a good fit? You know, really, is this what you should be doing? And obviously all the 9 students that we met with had kind of worked through that, and even maybe some of their peers not understanding just what Avid was about. And they said they've been taking a lot of questions from peers and classmates. So, you know, I think it's a brave group, and I think they're trying to make the most out of the experience, and it feels
Very
like it's going
positive.
in a good direction. Yeah.
I really like that, the comment that Lisa, I don't wanna, what she shared with them was that, I think she said to all of them, congratulations for taking charge of your own education. Is that what,
Yeah,
how you said
because
it?
it was a new thing, and it's like, you know, people asked you to do it, and they had to advocate on their behalf to complete an application, and then in some cases get an adult to support it and say, no, really, I need this, I want this, I envision myself as a college student, I envision myself in honors classes, and I haven't been in those, so, but I want to be.
Yeah, I think for
Well,
me.
that was really energizing.
I think for me too, to hear some of the students say that nobody in their family has ever gone to college or tech school, and that this has encouraged them and given them some confidence that they can be the first one. I think we heard that from 3 or
Yeah,
4 of the
couple, 3 of the
students.
people, yeah.
It was interesting to me, I never would have thought of it, but they, you know, that some of their peers, because they walk around now with this big binder. So it's kind of like a sign that you're an Avid. Because you're the only kid in class with this, it was a big binder.
Yeah.
And that some kids felt then that was for, that they can't learn, or that they're a slow learning student.
Yeah.
And that was really surprising to me that, that came out of Avid, or, you know, that would
An
be.
affiliation with
That was
Avid,
something that I
suppose.
hadn't thought of ahead of time, that maybe we should have done a little bit of education more on that program with all students of what the Avid program was. But it was also interesting to hear from 4 or 5 of them that they knew that they weren't pushing them. I don't want to use the word slacking. Okay, I'll use the word.
They weren't working up to their potential.
I'll use the
They
word-
knew it, they knew they
They
were.
knew it. And now that they're in it, it's convinced them that, yeah, I really was. Because now I am pushing myself, so.
Well, and one of the students said, you know, I already feel like my test scores are higher this year because I'm going back in my notes and I'm having to restructure and reread them and redo them.
So again,
And that's how you do it. That's how you learn something at the high school levels. You go over your notes multiple times, and
so I think us, for myself as superintendent and the
positive.
3 school board members, we just opened it up and said, just let us have it, you know, what are you feeling? And to hear nothing but positive, really made you
Yeah.
feel good as a board member and superintendent that this was a good initial step, and,
Well, these are gonna be our advocates going forward.
well, exactly,
These are because that word of mouth is going to be much stronger than anything else.
yeah.
exactly. I thought of that afterwards, as if, you know, and a question maybe when we meet with them later is, are you willing to be, you know, called out as an advocate? Because could they go to 9th grade students next year and say, this is what this program is, and just so you know, and this is what it did for me, or whatever.
I told them that we'd have
Kinda
one
build.
more meeting probably in February or March. It won't be with them again.
It'd be another group out of their class.
Which they were disappointed because they enjoyed the pizza. But I said, I'd open it up again in March. Some board members could come in, and we'd pick 8 to 10 new students to have them tell us, now how's it going now that you're 6 months in? But the initial response, very good.
Because our final number was what, 20?
28, I believe, yeah.
Tim, how does a teacher or teachers, how are they handling the whole new program? Any surprises or?
Well, no, I think the surprise is the level of commitment to it. I think I talked about that maybe in a response to you on one of my Friday notes, where I think we had 12 or 13 teachers show up at the parent-student night about a week and a half ago, and that says a lot, because some of the teachers that showed up don't have Avid in their classes, but they still showed up because they're wanting to learn more about it. So the response from the staff has been really, really strong. I think, you know, Jody Shellhammer, who leads the Avid program, part of it right now is trying to relieve some of the stress on her. Because whenever you start a new program, there's a lot of work because of that first time. And so when you're a one-person leader at that time, you don't have somebody else maybe to go to. I mean, Jen Reichel's been great, and Mike's been great, but overall, Joe, really positive response to it.
Yeah, and I had spoken to Jody about that too when I was at the class, and she had said that the staff is giving great feedback, and, she's doing a really great job working on how to figure this out for the first time, and, I mean, there's a lot that she's figuring out week by week because it's so new, and she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Well, and part of this too is, don't we belong, part of Avid is that you belong to the Avid community.
Yes.
And we get support that way too.
Yes.
Okay. I was making sure that was still in place, that we weren't just
I
out.
think the problem is it's like, okay, they're doing all that, but they've been in it for 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I should be doing that too, I should be doing that too. And one of the students talked about Jody taking it the extra step because some students who in ninth grade had the first phase of introductory notes, and now we're doing it with sophomores. So Jody's been trying to catch them up on what the ninth grade notes would have been and what the sophomore, so the one student said it's like cramming 2 years into one because she wants the students to have that full level of experience. And I think that's where some of the stress is too, trying to do all that. But no, staff has responded extremely well and students are responding very well, so.
Yeah. And another example is, so on Fridays, she grades their notes, because part of Avid is, how well they're taking notes, how they're focusing and going back. And so she takes their notes on Friday, but they need those notes to study for the weekend. So she has to figure out a way to grade those notes during the class period while also doing the class. And so trying to figure out how to juggle these different roles and different responsibilities.
So anyway, that's the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that, we're going to move into the action items for tonight. And I would like to get a motion and a second to approve the first reading of 8 policies that are listed in the agenda and that are available in the board packet. Could I get that motion and second?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I just want to share, and again, I shared this with you in a writing that we went through a very exciting compliance review. And we had a lot of, I'll just say, some minor tasks and minor things to change. So for example, the state of Minnesota came down and they measured our handicap parking to see if they were actually the feet, away that they should be, et cetera. They looked at signage. So it was compliance on a lot of different issues. Deanna and Jim Huberty had to follow up on a majority of those compliance reviews. And thankfully, we did pass all those compliance reviews. And one of the compliance reviews were on these policies. We didn't have a grievance procedure written in any of these policies. And that rather than having the policy say that this policy, the person in charge is the superintendent, or in this policy, the person in charge is the high school principal, they wanted the name of the person. And of course, we don't like to have the name in there because then when the person changes, you have to
Yeah.
go back in. But they didn't agree with us, so what we did was we put in a grievance procedure, and then we made the minor changes, and so that's why I don't feel like we have to go through a first reading of all of them. But officially, go up, put it up there and read them, so that's why I'm looking forward to the
Doing
approval.
it in a group. Did anybody have any questions on that? I mean, I have the same reservations where you put the athletic director's name in there and then it changes because people change jobs and we'll get to see these policies again and the change will be new names, but I don't know. I also like not being bugged by the state of Minnesota, so it's not that, this is certainly not.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
This is not a bridge to lay across, to die on here, so. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, motion is approved. Second, we have a motion to approve the 2018-2020 Community Education Coordinators Contract. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This follows the same parameters of all of our contracts that we've offered so far, so.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our third action item tonight is a motion to approve 3 change orders. Again, detailed in the agenda, if anybody wants to see them. Could I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I'll just share a little bit about each one. So at the high school, Mccullough parking upgrades. So for Mccullough, there was a little bit of a change on a sidewalk that we had to add. Part of the add in here is being, at the high school, on the parking lot, is being paid by one of the contractors. So for example, on the back side, when we had to wait for the pavement because the chiller was coming in, the roofer says, well, I'll pay for that extra 6,000 change order that this paving company is going to give you, because that helps me get my project done in the lift up there. And so on that one, even though it looks like 12,000 total, we're gonna get some money back from one of the contractors to pay for that. The high school track resurfacing, part of that was where the coaches went to Trent and said, you know, we want just a little bit extra patch in this area, and we want a little extra for the shot put area. And yeah, we said, yeah, we agree with that, if that's what our coaches want. So that's a 4,000 add that we know about. And then the district-wide camera project, I think, Dan, is this where we had to move some of the cameras?
We moved some, we added a couple. There was some cameras that were purchased that were gonna have a wider view. It wouldn't work. We couldn't get our hands on the camera, so we had to put 3 cameras instead of 1, but we got the same kind of a.
Same coverage.
Same coverage.
So again, that was, I don't want to say our fault, but once we got the camera in place, we're like, oh, that's not quite the angle that we want. And we want it either moved or we want better coverage. So again, that was something that we wanted on the project.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our fourth action item tonight is a motion to approve a number of leaves, again, as detailed in the agenda. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Fifth action item is a motion to accept the resignation of 4 individuals. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sixth action item is a motion to approve the termination of a single individual. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I believe I shared the rationale for that in a,
I did.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our seventh action item is a motion to accept the retirement of 2 individuals. Could I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Thank you to the 2 of them for nearly a half century of
I was
service.
going to say virtually 50 years of service, and there's only 2 people listed. Yeah, it's been terrific. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our eighth and last action item, could I get a motion and a second to approve, the employment of, I don't know, a good-sized list of people, 9, 10 people?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I just know that there's one person sitting in this room that will be very happy that you're approving the first person on this list. She can't wait for that person to.
Can we
start.
force an earlier date of employment if we modify this list to make her come now?
Hopefully her workload will go down at some point.
Yeah. All right. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our other business upcoming, as Tim indicated, we have a work session on November 7th. is that at the high school?
Yes.
Do I remember that from something?
Yeah.
Okay. That's at the high school. The student lunch on the 13th, those of you who are in that group know who you are. And then our next board meeting is here on Wednesday, November 28th. Regular start time of 6 o'clock.
And then also, and for the community who watches this, we have an outstanding Veterans Day program
Oh, that's right.
on November 12th. I want to say that's 8:30
8:30.
a.m. in the start. And so we definitely invite the community to attend and board members. I know that you've seen the invitation too.
Yep.
And I know that your lives are.
Those are terrific.
Yeah.
I've been to them in the past. They're
Previously in there.
very
They're
moving.
Very moving, very fantastic.
and
And
always
then-
terrific speakers.
And then some of the board members, I can't even remember for sure who's on the outreach committee. We said that we'd
Oh,
meet
yeah.
with the city council and the chamber, try to meet some night. And thank you for getting back dates to me. It looks like December 10th might be the only night that works. And that would mean, Kelsey, I know that you have a commitment on that night you shared with me. So not to offend you, but if we do get enough, I might invite another board member to come on the 10th. But I'm going to respond back to Melanie and Christie that the 10th looks good for us to look at that marketing plan. And we'll see if it still works
See if it holds for them.
for them too. So I just wanted to let you know that all the other dates were, and of course, you know that whenever you try to get 10 people together, it's very difficult. So we'll just see where that one goes. I do know that when we adjourn, I need to meet for just 2 minutes and look at calendars with Joe, Russ, and Peter. And then Scott, you can head back to my office because we'll be meeting back there with you and Joe. Then the rest of the board members, I would like you just to meet with Lisa for just 1
Just
minute.
a quick visit.
Just a quick visit. So, yeah.
All right. With that, I'll ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. I was a little afraid that I was going to die for lack of a second. There was a
There's a hesitation.
there was a hesitation. There was an uncomfortable pause.
Yeah, you got
Turn the
those.
lights on.